Hey, Malika Jackson here. I am back. Day 47. Oh my gosh. Like I said before, I'm going to cry. We're almost done with my top 50 real estate terms in 50 days. I'm not ready for it to be over. All right. So here we go. My term of the day, I realized I did not cover a very basic word: equity. Let's talk about equity. I covered all this real estate stuff over these past month and a half. I've talked about terms and rules to the game and ways you could take shortcuts and what to do and what not to do. I talked about all that stuff, but I didn't talk about the foundation, the reason why we are here, the reason why we fight so hard to get properties, and the reason why we cash out of them as well. Equity. Why didn't I talk about equity? Equity is what this game is all about. So let's talk about what equity is. Let's say you buy a house today for $500,000, right? Next year, let's say it's worth $600,000. I'm gonna keep it real simple. You have just made $100,000 in equity. Equity is invisible, but very valuable. Invisible, but very valuable. You can you imagine something you can't even see and you're making it in your sleep? So equity is the amount of money that you make off of holding real estate, off of holding a asset that appreciates, right? Equity is the difference between the amount that you purchased this house for and the amount it's currently worth in the fair market. So again, let's say you buy a house for $600,000 today. 6 months from now, it's worth $650,000. You now have $50,000 in equity. And that's why people do this. You heard they say, oh, we cashed out grandmama's house for $700,000. Grandma ain't paid $700,000. Grandma probably paid $150,000 or $175,000 back in 1950 something. You know what I'm saying? And this house sat and appreciated, grew equity for decades. So if something is growing equity for decades, can you imagine how much money they would make? Like, I'll give you an example. I just had a family, I talked about it before here on social media. This family purchased this house decades and decades and decades ago. I want to say 57 years ago. My client, who is the seller, who is also the executor of the estate, is handling her mother's affairs after the death of her mom about 5 years ago. Her mother, she grew up in that house. Now, my client is in her 70s. She's been in that house since she was 12 years old. Her mother purchased the house a long time ago, and her grandmother also lived there. Her grandmother had her 100th birthday in that house. Now, her mother bought the house for like under 175, something like that. They just cashed out about 3 weeks ago and sold the house for $624,000. You can look it up, 426 23rd Place Northeast, across from RFK. After paying commissions, taxes, transfer and recording fees, old bills, after they paid everything, the family walked away with $550,000 in equity. Can you imagine if you got a check today for $550,000, what you would be able to do? And some families, like, they're all into real estate. Everybody has a house. Grandma got 2, 3, 4 houses, especially like a lot of the people that I grew up here with in DC. A lot of them have houses all over DC when they were $5,000 and $10,000 to buy. Some people, unfortunately, have not been exposed to real estate. So if you have not, I'm telling you how the game goes. You buy it today, you sit on it. You know how they say, do not wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. You sit on it, you let it grow so that when it's time, you cash out. I just had another person, same situation. It was an estate sale. This gentleman lives in Texas. His mother lived here in London Woods. London Woods is a very affordable, small, new home, like first-time home buyer, basic community. You might pay $200 for those now. You know what I'm saying? Not anything fancy. This man still walked away with $50,000 because his mother purchased that home years ago. I think she purchased it in the 90s. She did a few refinances on it, so he didn't get as much equity as he was going to because he still had a bill to pay off as opposed to the first family that did not. But anyway, his mom passed away and his dad passed away right behind that too. And he's the only child like me, so he's doing it all by himself, trying to handle everything, take care of his mom and dad's affairs. But his mother was the one that had this home, this property in the estate. They sold the house. He sold it for $240,000, 1004 Barnesbury Place. You could look that up too, Capitol Heights, Maryland. He walked away with a check for $50,000. Would a check for $50,000 help you right now? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Okay. So that's the whole